To work on the north slope of Alaska, this encounter still haunts me. It was March on the slope, while still in the depths of Arctic winter. With the equinox approaching, the day-night cycle was becoming more even. My flight to the slope was delayed due to a large blizzard which shut down the Dead Horse and Kuparuk airstrips. I spent 3 days waiting in Anchorage until the storm cleared and we were able to fly. Landing at the Kuparuk airstrip, it was evident the blizzard was more severe than we had initially thought. While whiteout blizzards are common, actually snow accumulation is not. This storm, though, was a monster. Snow drifts several stories tall ran up against the camp housing. Our work trucks and equipment were completely covered in snow and it took a full day of digging to get them out. As soon as the trucks were free, we were off to our first job assignment. No time to rest in the oil field. Traveling anywhere after a storm this size is a nightmare. To get to the work site, we had a bulldozer escort us, breaking up any remaining drifts as we went. The dozer cleared our work area around the well house and we began to rig up our equipment. It took little time and soon we were back to the normal humdrum of life. Over the radio we got a call from the bulldozer operator as he left that he had seen a giant black animal headed our direction. He couldn't tell if it was a wolf or a big dog, but it was massive and moving erratically. In the winter, many animals aren't active on the slope. Caribou, musk oxen, and foxes are the usual wildlife you'll encounter out in the snow. The grizzlies are hibernating. The male polar bears are hunting on the sea ice, while the females are denned up with new cubs. Wolves aren't unheard of, but rarely leave the Brooks Range Mountains a couple 100 miles to the south. Whatever the operator saw, we would keep watch, but it wasn't our problem. It was a problem for the Bear Police. We went about our work, albeit cautiously. It's interesting to note that oil companies on the slope have private security officers who, besides being private law enforcement, also try to minimize encounters with wildlife. We referred to them as the Bear Police, which is a cute name for a rather dangerous part of their job. Their primary job when encountering large predators is to harass them until they leave. This is done with beanbag guns or loud noises at first. When that fails, or if the animal is unusually aggressive, lethal force is needed. We had settled into our work and forgot about the wolf, or dog, or whatever it was. I needed to take a leak. I got out of the truck and walked behind the well house to take care of business. My crewmate came over the radio telling me to get back in the truck. There was a wolf coming out from behind the well house where I had just been, and he was pacing after me. I didn't look behind me. I just ran back and jumped into the truck. I'm not taking my chances even if it was a crewmate practical joke. Once inside I looked out and sure enough, trotting towards the truck was a large, black, male wolf. He approached our trucks and plopped down on the snow in front of us. This wolf looked rough, even by wild animal standards. The right side of his face was mutilated and deformed, missing his right eye and most of his skin and lips on that side of his head. The wound exposed large white teeth, giving him the appearance of a wide, crooked smile. He didn't appear aggressive, but he didn't take his good eye off of us. That one good eye was bright red in appearance. It was eerie. The way he sat there staring, watching, waiting. We radioed the security officers for help, and like a speeding bullet they showed up 40 minutes later. That whole time waiting, the wolf never diverted his attention from us. If I hadn't seen him breathing, I would have assumed it was a statue. The security officers arrived and took some pictures for their reports, then began the process of driving the animal back out into the tundra. Truck horns didn't startle him. He didn't even flinch. Charging him with their truck did nothing either. They then took aim with a beanbag gun and hit him square in the ribs. The wolf let out a yelp, but didn't get up or move from his spot. The next beanbag hit him in the head, and that jostled him enough to get up and leave. Security told us to call back if we saw the wolf again. They seemed confident he would move on and not be a bother anymore. The sun was setting and our job was still hours from wrapping up. Working a 13 to 15-hour day isn't unusual. You either get used to the long hours or you find another line of work pretty quick. I was running the computer equipment inside the truck and weird data was coming back from the tools down in the well. They were blanking out and losing signal, or they were reporting data backwards, but diagnostics wasn't indicating any issues. To the computer systems, everything was operating normally. I tried a few different things to fix the issue, but it persisted. One of the workers went out to the wellhead to check the gauges and cables, trying to isolate the problem from there. He was outside for not more than 5 minutes before the night was pierced by a long, bellowing howl. This was immediately followed by the high-pitched shriek of our crewmate. Throwing the door open, I was able to catch a fleeting glimpse of a large, dark figure running behind the wellhouse. Our crewmate ran past us and jumped inside. Pale, sweating, and full of adrenaline, he tried to relay what just happened. Through his panting, he said he was in the wellhouse checking the cables when someone walked up behind him. Thinking it was one of us, he started a conversation with his back turned. When he got no reply, he turned and was met face to face with a 7-foot-tall black wolf standing on his hind legs. It stood between him and the door, growling. Without thinking, he flung his pipe wrench at the beast and struck him hard in the chest. That's when it let out a howl and ran off. Our crewmate was adamant this was the same wolf from earlier because its face was mangled in that crooked half-smile and one fiery red eye. Myself and the others on the crew had a hard time believing he saw a giant wolfman. We had no doubt he saw the wolf, but we reasoned that in his panic he hallucinated that it was a pride like a man. But we'd all encountered enough weird things on the slope to never count out the impossible. We radioed the security officers and told them the wolf had returned and waited inside the truck. What else could we do but wait? I wasn't about to go there and fight Satan's guard dog with a clipboard and a mouse pad. Every time we felt like things settled down outside, we would hear a growl or something would push against the truck, periodically. We could see something pacing in the dark just beyond the reach of the work lights. Even though we were inside a locked truck cabin, it was still a very vulnerable feeling. We were very much trapped. I'm sure it felt similar to what divers experience inside a shark cage far out at sea. All of this went on for an hour while we waited for someone to show up. Finally, coming up the road, we could see headlights of 3 approaching vehicles. The security team had showed up, this time with actual rifles. Over the radio, we told them what had been going on. You could feel their disbelief and eyes rolling through the radio. That sass and disbelief soon faded when we explored the work site and found it covered in fresh large wolf tracks. The security team split up with the trucks headed out to search for the wolf while the last one remained with us as we loaded our equipment and finished our job. We didn't hear or see anything else that night as we cleaned up, but we sure did keep our heads on a swivel. The security officers didn't find the wolf that night. A set of tracks left off the work site and out into the open tundra. The officers commented that the tracks looked weird. This was due to them only seeing the back paw prints in the snow. The last security truck escorted us back to the main camp while the others continued their search into the night. For the following week, various reports came in across Tarfield of people seeing this mangled black wolf during the day. And at night, reports kept coming in of a black beast walking upright and harassing workers. Security seemed to always show up minutes too late. During this time frame, many of the Alaska Native workers were getting nervous. A week following our encounter, the security team was able to corner the wolf on a remote work site. It had attacked and trapped 2 welders in their truck. Both workers had superficial cuts through their snowsuits, but were otherwise fine. Having no other choice, the wolf was euthanized on the spot. Security shot the wolf once, and instead of dropping dead, it charged the officer that shot it. The wolf took 3 more high-powered rifle shots before it eventually collapsed at the feet of the officer. Even then, paralyzed in the now crimson snow, the wolf was still growling through its crooked wide smile. After several minutes, it finally succumbed to its wounds. The wolf's body was taken to the University of Alaska Fairbanks for dissection and examination. Outside of the facial deformities and gnarled appearance, the biologist concluded it was an ordinary wolf from the Brooks Range Mountains. How it got hundreds of miles from home and why it stayed on the tundra is a complete mystery. Follow for more horror stories.